Alright guys, so today I'm going to do kind of a choice project, or you can do both sides, but we're going to be focusing on silhouettes and then making fake watercolors using Crayola markers. So on one side I am going to do warm colors, oranges, reds, yellows, pinks for a beach sunset, and on my other paper I'm going to do the northern lights, so using blues, greens, and purples over a forest. I'm going to do one at a time. If you want to do just one of them, that's fine. You can fast forward through the part that I'm doing the other, or if you want to take part in both, that's great too. So I'm going to work on my sunset first. The first thing that you want to do, I have got my two papers here, but before I start, I want to talk about supplies. You want to make sure whatever black marker that you're using today is waterproof. So do not use a Crayola washable marker. This will smear away when we go to do the watercolor part. So Sharpies will work, but if you want to test whatever you're using on a small scrap of paper, I've also got just a regular ink pen. I've got a gel ink pen, and then I have another pen here. So whatever kind of black ink you're using, you want to make sure that it's not going to spread. So I'm just going to put a little bit of water on my finger. Maybe. There we go. And I'm going to brush it over the ink. So I can see this one is spreading a whole lot. That one might be spreading a little bit, but these two over here are probably okay. Maybe even this one. Let's try that one again over here just to make sure. So that one I think would probably be all right, but this last pen that I use is not okay. So do a small test of whatever supply you're going to be using for the ink part before you put it on your paper, so that you don't ruin your whole design at the end when you start doing the watercolors. Alright, so like I said, I'm going to start on my beach project first. So what we're going to be doing is drawing a silhouette of a palm tree. A silhouette is a dark or black outline of an object against a lighter background. So I found these images of palm trees against sunsets for inspiration. So I don't want to waste my Sharpie by drawing a whole lot of black marks, so I'm going to just do the palm tree like I'm looking up at it, and maybe just a tiny little black across the bottom. If you are using Sharpie, please make sure that you're either working on a surface that won't be ruined, or you put a scrap piece of paper underneath your paper in case it goes through. So I'm just going to draw like a small bumpy line for sand across the bottom. Again, it's not going to be very big because I don't want to waste my marker. I'm going to fill that in first. Alright, then I'm going to work on the shape of the palm tree. So I'm going to start at the bottom down here, and I'm going to draw a curved line going up into the air, kind of like a banana. And then I'm going to start back at the top, and I am going to come down, and it's going to be small at the top, and then I want it to get wider as I get to the base. So I'm going to go a little bit further, until I get back to the bottom. Now, because this is going to be a shadow up against the sunset, I'm going to fill this in with my Sharpie. Alright, now we're going to work on the branches. So I'm going to add probably 5 or 6 branches to my palm tree. So I'm going to do curved lines going down, kind of like a rainbow, coming out of the sides, 2 more at the top, do 1 here, and maybe another one down here in the back. Okay, so that's the center of each palm branch. Now, we're going to work starting at the end of the branch, going back in towards the top of the palm tree. And we're going to make short little lines, kind of like a V, an upside down V. And we're going to start small, but then as we go, we want to make them a little bit bigger each time. And I'm going to kind of curve mine a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing on every single branch. And it's okay if my lines overlap, because leaves on a tree would overlap too. have my palm tree. So I'm going to set this to the side for now, and I'm going to work on my forest on my other sheet of paper. So for the forest half of our drawing, I got inspiration from looking at images of the northern lights, which is also called aurora borealis. So this is something that happens because particles that leave the sun end up entering our atmosphere, usually around the North Pole where the magnetic force of the Earth is the weakest. So these particles from the sun break through our atmosphere, and they end up interacting with hydrogen and nitrogen, which causes these beautiful light patterns to happen in the sky. So that is where I got my inspiration for this half of our project. So same thing for the forest. I don't want to have a whole bunch of wasted markers, so I'm just going to draw a small line for the ground across the bottom and make sure that I have a paper underneath my paper that I'm drawing on so that I don't ruin whatever is underneath here, especially if you're working on your parents' nice furniture. So for my forest, I am going to draw two pine trees, they don't live in a forest, pine trees. So I'm going to start with one big line, and then I'm going to do a smaller line over here. And I'm going to start at the top, making small V upside down. And I'm going to keep kind of working my way on one side, getting bigger and bigger and bigger as I go. Once I get to the bottom, I curve them out a little bit, and I can actually go off the paper. That tree is so big. I'm going to try to make this side similar. And they don't have to match up exactly to these, as long as they keep getting bigger as we go. Okay, now it's a little bit thin, so I'm going to go over it one more time and make some more lines coming out and overlap them. Same on this side. And then because my trunk is so skinny here at the bottom, I'm going to make it a little bit thicker. I'm going to go about halfway and make the trunk thicker to hold that tree up. There we go. So I'm going to do the same thing on my second tree. Get a little bit bigger as we go out. Oops, those ones didn't connect. And then make my trunk a little bit thicker, especially there towards the bottom. Alright, so now we have our two different scenes. We've got our beach scene and our forest scene. So now that we have our landscapes done, we're going to work on the fake watercolor sky for our backgrounds. So first let's talk about our colors. For our palm tree sunset, we're going to be using warm colors, colors that remind us of the sun. So we're going to work with yellows all the way over here. We could even probably go to a red violet if we have one. So yellows, oranges, and reds are our warm colors that I'm going to use on our palm tree. For the northern lights and my pine trees, I'm going to be using cool colors that you would see in the aurora borealis. So that ranges all the way from our yellow-green over here to our violet. These are all of our cool colors. So to get our area ready, I'm going to clear my papers to the side. I'm going to get a paper towel and a gallon Ziploc bag. Now, even though I'm choosing a gallon bag, I only use the half sheet of paper for my drawings, so I don't need to color the entire Ziploc bag because I'll have a ton of wasted marker. So if you want to, you can kind of make markings on here. You don't have to, you can kind of just estimate as well, but I need to fill about this much space. So I'm going to use my warm colors, my reds, oranges, yellows, pinks, I'm not going to use so much purple on this one. I'm going to really keep it to these cool, or these warm colors. And I'm just going to kind of give some random spaces for some yellow. I'm going to put some orange parts. And your colors will mix if you touch them on top of each other. So especially with your yellow, I would go with your yellow first so that if it accidentally touches like the orange or the red, it's not going to damage your marker and turn it to a different color. So I always like to work from lightest to darkest. All right, so now I've got my marker on my Ziploc bag. For the next part, you are going to need a spray bottle. It can be like a little mister, or it can be more like this, but it just has plain water in it, and you don't want to go overboard. If you spray this too much, it's just going to turn into a giant puddle of colored water, and it's going to destroy your paper. So if you have a spray bottle like mine, I'm going to actually spray it from pretty high up, because if I spray it really close, it's going to squirt a whole lot of water on my bag, and I want it to be more like a mist. So from way up high, I'm going to spray like that much. So you can kind of see the droplets are forming. Then while it's wet, I'm going to carefully put my paper upside down into the marker. You can kind of see it taking. And then I'm going to rub with my finger all over to make sure all the paper, kind of tap it, touches the bag. Okay. Once I know that the color is really on there good, I can peel this off carefully, and I can see my sunset. Now, in order to do my pine tree, if you're doing both, then you want to make sure that before you put any more marker on here, you use your paper towel and wipe your bag down really good, because you don't want to have that extra water on there. So I know my bag is dry. I'm going to leave this back out. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing, except for, since I'm doing the northern lights, I'm going to use like turquoise, greens, blues. Got a really dark green there too. Oh, I forgot my purple. Okay, so now I've got my cool colors, and I'm going to do the same thing with the cool colors. I should always start with the lightest, so I'm going to start with my green first. I'm going to add my purple in. Okay. And then same thing. I'm going to put my spray bottle up high. I'm going to spray it. Ooh, see, that time it squirted a whole lot. There we go. It came out a little bit more than I wanted to on that one, but I think it should be okay. Put my artwork face down into the water puddles, and then tap, tap, tap onto the paper. Ooh, I think this one's going to turn out really good. Maybe a little bit more water was a little bit better for this one. I'm going to peel it off, and wow, that one came out really cool, guys. So I think a little bit more water actually was more successful than when I did it the first time. So again, you can do just the cool colors, you can do just the warm colors. Maybe you want to do something that has a different kind of background. It's up to you, but I hope you enjoy this project and have fun with it.